Hi guys, today we're going to take a look at a mod I made to convert the Ayaneo Pocket Micro to the Micro Classic. There's an off-brand version of the Micro from a company called Antec, and that's the one I have here. So if you can get the Antec version plus this mod, you can save a lot of money. Now, why do this mod in the first place? I don't really need the sticks on this since most of the games I play are Game Boy games or the games don't make use of the stick. If you mainly play PSP, you can even just remove the right stick. We're going to need some acrylic discs. These are 14.7mm in diameter and 3mm thick. You're going to need this 3D printed part too. I also made a version that can be entirely printed if you can't get an acrylic disc. All the model files are on my MakerWorld page and will be linked in the description. Now let's assemble the replacement stick. So the first thing we need to do is remove the paper cover from one side of the disc and then scuff it up so the glue has something to stick to. We just need to glue the disc onto the 3D printed part. This is the glue I use and it works great for everything. It should look like this. We will need a hex and Phillips driver, a suction cup, and some picks. Use the hex driver to remove the 4 screws on the back plate. Now we can use the suction cup to pull up a side of the plate and a pick to go around and disengage all the clips. Rotate the plate upwards since there's an antenna attaching it to the main body of the Micro. This is the USB-C board. Unplug these 2 Lego style connectors by levering them directly upwards. All of the screws from here on will be Phillips. Remove these 3 screws and remove the USB-C board. Next, unplug this wire for the fan and remove the 3 screws around it so we can remove the fan completely. These 2 screws hold down the SD card slot. This frame has 7 screws. I have the middle one missing, but there are 2 lengths of screws in total and I'm going to lay them out at the bottom here so you can see where each one goes. Now you can unplug the vibration motor wire and the speaker wire. You will need to hold the ribbons and antenna out of the way so we can remove the frame. Now the heatsink will be loose and can be lifted out. We can also unplug the battery and remove it. If this is the first time, the battery will be stuck down really well. I recommend watching the Ayaneo teardown to see how to remove that. This is where the stick will be plugged in for your device. Unplug these 2 ribbons to free the left controller board. and now you just need to replace that with the part we assembled earlier. There's one screw holding in the main board, so we can undo that and unplug the antenna to make it easier to work on. Unplug these two Lego connectors, and the board should be free and we can remove it. The right frame has 5 screws to remove. We need to unplug this ribbon too and move both out of the way. Now we can remove the frame. Replace this stick with the part, and now we can put it all back together by doing the steps in reverse. To make sure that all the buttons are seated correctly when you put the frame back in, and double check that your ABXY buttons feel okay and the membrane is seated correctly. Plug in the power button ribbon. And now put the main board back in, making sure that there's no wires stuck under it. Plug this ribbon in too. I plugged in the battery first, but you want to do this one at the top before that. Now we can put the left controller board back in and plug in the ribbon. Don't forget to plug in the antenna too. Slide the heat shield back in, keeping the speaker wire out of the way. Now we can put the frame in, starting from the bottom edge to make it easier. The antenna has a little cutout that it goes through on the frame. There's a few ribbons and wires that we have to make sure aren't stuck under the frame before we screw it down. If your start and select buttons don't work, try pushing the sponge in slightly and try to make sure that all the controls work. Now we can screw in the SD card slot. Next there's the 3 screws for the fan. The USB-C board can slot in from the bottom first and needs to go underneath the ribbons. Plug the fan back in, and then the speaker wire and the vibration motor wire, and route the wires out of the way. The antenna has space to go above the SD card slot. Now we can press the plate back on and you will hear the clips clicking in. Finally, the 4 screws can go in. The mod is now complete and we have a Micro Classic version. The ergonomics could be better than the actual Classic since the controls are higher up. I think I'm going to model and resin print these buttons next, so keep an eye out for those models if you're interested. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment if you have any questions about this mod or any of my other mods you've seen, and I'll see you next time.